So hello and welcome to this video. My name's David Thorne. Now I'm a professional software developer, and at times you've got to learn new things, and because of the job you've got to learn them relatively fast and relatively well. So the question is how do you keep learning all of these things, and how do you remember all of this code, and how do you remember how things work? How is it you do it? Okay, so I'm going to tell you how I managed to remember lots of things and how I managed to learn things really fast, because I can hear about a new product or something, a new way of programming, and within a very short amount of time I've got a really good understanding of how it works, and then within a little bit more amount of time I'm actually starting to be able to do it, and over time I'm actually starting to be able to do it without even thinking anymore. So I'm going to answer in this video is how I do it and what's my technique. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. This is not scientific stuff. This is just on how I do it. But I've based my understanding of how to learn faster based upon other people's things that they've said to me. So point number one is listen. Is first of all, find something that you want to learn. Go onto YouTube and just listen. Listen to people talking about it, and try and go onto TED, go onto other videos where people are talking about it in the shortest form until you get this basic understanding about what something is. As soon as the person starts talking about it in detail, skip over it. Keep watching videos until you get this really basic understanding about the thing that you want to do. What is it in its most abstract form? What is it in its most basic form? So you can then tell someone else, I'm learning about this topic at the moment, and you can tell them what it is. You wouldn't be able to tell them how it works or how you're going to do it, but you could just give them a brief introduction of what it is you want to learn. The next thing you need to then learn is in how many sections is that one topic divided? How many things are you going to need to learn? So now take this one topic and write down all of the major things that you've found out that you've got to learn. And once you've done that, start at the top of the list and now research this until you understand what that part is, and follow the same step once again until you understand what that part is, and then you can explain it to someone else. The magic here is that it can't just be in your head, right? You can't just be listening to it. You've got to be able to see something as well. So if there's documentation, you've got to be hearing first of all from someone else, and you've got to be using your eyes. You've got to be using your senses, because your brain has got to be able to learn it in multiple ways. First thing is you're having it through your ears, and you're hearing it from someone else. And then you've got to be able to say it to yourself, to explain it. So go to the mirror and explain it to yourself out loud how this works. And once you can describe it out loud, you then know that you understand it in its basic form. But one, you've got to have heard it. Two, you actually need to explain it verbally using your mouth. This is really important. You won't learn as fast if you just listen to it, keep it in your head, and then don't do anything about it. Right. Thirdly, if you're not going to explain it to someone else, then write it down. Write it down until you can fully understand it, and then keep reading and reading and reading that back until you understand it fully. And then take your script and read it to yourself out loud until you fully understand it. Now, if you don't like writing with pens and pencils, then go onto the computer and write it in an email, write it in a message to someone else to explain in detail what it is you are learning. Don't write in detail about it, but just write in detail what you're learning, why you're learning, and what it's about. And this will give you, once again, a better understanding of what it is. And so you do this for all of the different sections in that one topic. And once you've got this broad understanding of everything in its most abstract form, you can start looking at every individual section now in its smaller pieces and working out which part of this is now relevant to me to learn first, and go through the whole of it and find out the most important thing from everything, and work out what stuff you can learn later. And once you've done this, then try and put it all together and try and understand this completely and work out how you can do something from it. Now, once you've decided, right, I've learned enough on the theory level and I can explain it based upon my programming experience, then start doing basic projects, simple, not real projects. These are individual small projects, small tasks where you're going to be trying to implement something. And when you get stuck, this is where you start reading the documentation. So you go and find an area. Because you understand what you're doing, you should be able to find it in the relevant documentation to then read about how something works. Now, this starts again. If you don't understand it, keep reading it until you understand why something is done like that. Remember, you're not doing like copy paste here. You're not doing something quickly. You're learning a technique. You're learning a new skill. And this is what's important for your job. You're not learning something to use once. You're doing this so you can save time in the future, and you're trying to learn it as quickly and as efficiently as possible so you don't waste any time and you can be most productive with the stuff that you've learned. And you can say to your boss, I'm ready to start implementing it now. A good company will always give you good time to learn something. But if you're doing this in your free time, then you can lay in bed listening to it and so on. But if your boss has given you a specific amount of time to learn a topic, then you need to know that you've structured it. If he says you've got 2 weeks, you need to structure your 2 weeks into how you're going to learn it productively, right? So you've got to plan your time. So once you've got your plan of all your things, this is where your fingers come into it, right? Writing and typing, and you're visually seeing it, then you're typing it. So you're always using more than one sense. And this is the whole point of it, is that you've listened to it in the beginning, right? So this was hearing it. You've saw someone talking about it. So you've got some visual form. That's why the videos are better, because you're hearing, and also you're making a reference to where you saw it from and like the title of the video. So it's always the whole point is you want to be able to save this data in your brain. Everything's getting saved anyway, and you want to be able to find a way that when you like, where did I learn that from? You know, when I heard it in TED. Where did I see the TED video? In YouTube. And you can slowly find out. You can slowly access this stuff in your memory because it's there. Your brain never forgets it, so it's always there. So the technique is managing to be able to save this information in your brain. Okay, so the whole point of this is that you need to try and use as many senses as possible, and once you've done this, then you need to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Not just to using the fingers, you need to be able to explain it to someone else, you need to be able to hear it from someone else, discuss it with someone else, and practice it. And every single time you don't know, read the documentation again until you can actually inform someone exactly what something does without having to read the documentation. And if they tell you you're wrong, then you can go and find the documentation and you can compare what you've said to the documentation because you understand it. So this is the key to learning something faster, is 1, understanding what it is you want. 2 is understanding why you're using it. And once you've got these 2 things, then the rest of it is going to be a lot easier because you understand why you're doing it. How many times have you been in like a seminar, a conference, something where someone's talking and within the first 1 minute you have no idea what it is they're talking about because they jumped straight into the details. They didn't build it up with what are we talking about? Why are we talking about it? What's the benefit of it? What are you going to learn at the end of it? And then they go into the details. Now, if you're going to a technical conference to talk about something technically, then they will dive straight into the technical part of it because it's like a prerequisite that you already know about what something is. That's why you went to this conference. So that's what you've got to remember, is if you're going to a conference or a meeting or watching a video without the understanding of how to do something, then you should put that on pause and then understand something fully before you use it. And don't be scared of learning new things. The easiest way to learn things faster is not being scared by learning new things. And once you start learning new things, your brain will learn things faster. You'll hear things. You'll manage to be able to remove the stuff that's irrelevant for it. And you'll start to think, I understand this, right? I can now verbally describe what it is I'm talking about. Remember, hear it, see it, speak it, touch it if possible. Use your hands. So this is the typing part of it as well. Okay, so you're trying to use as many senses as possible. And if you want to like put a smell to it as well, so if you do something and you kind of like link a smell to it, anyway, but that's enough. All right, I hope this has just been like a short introduction of how I learn things. You're going to have to find your own way. Okay, final thing is that if I'm learning something, I will always put it on my phone to listen to when I go to sleep. So I'll find a long technical video about it and I'll play it on my phone quietly, and then I'll go to sleep. So it's in my brain all the time. So it's always there. And every single time I'll just fall asleep, and I'll let myself fall asleep, and I'll always be listening to it. So this is the understanding, listening, the first phase, is try to utilize your brain. And even whilst you're sleeping in the beginning, have your phone, so there's like a 20-minute video or something that you can listen to and fall asleep to, then it goes off. So it's fine. So, and I can tell you what, this really, really works. All right, I've learned so many things really quickly. I hope it's been helpful. Thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, tap that bell icon so you get notified about when I upload a new video. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching. My name's David Thorne and you're watching David's videos. Thanks then, bye.